Now that brings me to the next point, which is mentorship. When I say the word mentor, what comes to mind? Throw out some words. Teacher, what else? Good. Guide, wisdom, what else? Patience. Good. So let me tell you what the best way that I think I can explain what this word means to me. This is my little girl, Kendall. She'll turn 4 years old this weekend. This is a couple of months ago. I took her skating for the first time. Now, she had in her mind that skating was going to be much easier than what she's experiencing right now. She thought it was going to be like Queen Elsa did at the end of Frozen, where she froze everything and gave everybody skates and they're doing triple axles. That wasn't really her experience. She was going really slow. If I would have asked her to do one lap, it would have probably taken us until right now. Right? But one thing you need to know about my little girl is she is a fierce, fierce competitor. She gets that from her mother, maybe a little from me, but she is a fierce competitor, and she's not afraid of a challenge. About 2 minutes after she fell right there, the DJ came on the loudspeaker and said, "Everyone off the rink, we're going to do some races." Kendall looked up at me immediately. The second she heard races, she says, "Daddy, I want to race." My response was this: "Sweetheart, you can't win. You can't even skate, right? You can't race. Maybe next time." She said, "No, Daddy, I want to race." And so the boys were going to race first. So I said, "Well, let's watch the boys." And I was hoping that she would see the boys and think, "Yeah, dude, I can't do that." Well, the boys started, and the more she watched, the more competent I think she felt in her skating abilities. Well, the boys went. And these are teenage boys. I mean, they're not teenage. They're maybe 9 or 10 years old, right? So they're way older than my sweet little 3-year-old that's probably going to get pummeled by whomever she's racing against. So the boys finish. The DJ comes on and says, "Okay, now all the girls out to the starting line." And so my daughter looks up at me and she says, "Daddy, I really want to race." She's got the tears starting, so I know it's going to be ugly if she doesn't get to go. And so I said, "All right, I tell you what, if you can get out there by yourself, you can race." And she looked at me like I guess every 3-year-old looks up at her dad from time to time, and she goes, "Daddy, I'm scared. Will you take me?" I said, "Oh, of course I'll take you." So I picked her up, and we skated out to the starting line. What happened next terrified me. Because we're standing at the starting line, and there are no other 3 or 4-year-old little girls. These are think women's roller derby, right? These are teenagers that are there literally every day. I wouldn't be confident to run that race by myself against these girls, right? I'm not that confident in my skating abilities. And so I stand there, I'm standing right inside the starting line, and they've got to go all the way around twice. I'm standing inside the starting line, and I'm looking at Kendall, and she's kind of bouncing a little bit, like she's ready, and she's kind of getting in this little stance, and I'm like, what is this child about to do? She's ready. And so the lady comes on, and she's like, "On your mark, get set, go!" And all these other roller derby kids just take off like a horse out of a chute, right? And my daughter, as soon as they do, my daughter looks up at me, she goes, "Daddy, push me fast." And so I came behind her, and she stood straight, and I pushed her. We got lapped twice in that race. That race was a 2-lap race. But the point is to me, that's what mentorship really looks like. Mentorship looks like someone coming behind you and helping you get a win for yourself that you maybe couldn't have gotten otherwise. And knowing that it's okay that you can't compete today at the high level that you will be able to compete with in a few years maybe. Or in a few weeks, or in a few months, or 20 years down the road. To me, that's what mentorship really looks like. So I wanted to sort of give the word mentor sort of some body. So here's what I came up with. Mentor, meet people, or what a mentor does is they meet you where you are. They encourage your growth. They nudge you toward action. They tackle tough issues. They organize your thought process, and they realign your perspective. To me, that's what mentorship really is. Now, I think the biggest problem with mentorship is oftentimes we have a very rigid understanding or a very rigid definition internally about what a mentor really is. And I would like to spend the next few minutes today breaking that down, and I would hope that you would leave this conference today with a completely different definition of mentorship inside of the constraints of this sort of beginning definition. I want to start by saying that this is the percentage of responsibility that your mentor has in terms of your personal growth. Your mentor has zero responsibility toward your personal development. Zero. Now, they may have some responsibility in the relationship with you, but in terms of your growth, they have zero responsibility. Because here's what I believe. I believe that mentorship is about you taking responsibility for your own development. That's what mentorship really is. And it's not what it used to be. There used to be a day, there was a day when mentorship meant you found a person that had done what you ultimately want to do. You take them out to dinner, you ask them to be a mentor, you do exactly what they tell you to do, and then hopefully you would achieve that goal. That's what mentorship was. I believe in the digital age, I believe in 2015 and beyond, I think mentorship will look a lot more like what you're going to see in a moment. I think for me, over the last maybe 5 years of my life, I've had 5.5 types of mentors that I'd like to share with you, and some examples. So the first type of mentor I've had is called a categorical mentor. Now, a categorical mentor is a mentor inside of a category. I've got a friend that I won't necessarily name his name, but the way that he takes care of himself, his health and wellness, is second to none. The way that he eats, his discipline, his workout regimen, the way that he runs, the things that he does, the things that he puts into his body, the way he takes care, the value he puts on sleep is unbelievable. He's a specimen. And I have a huge amount of respect for that. And I do everything I can when I'm around him to ask him questions about that, because I know that he gets something or he understands something on a level that I do not. Now, adversely, the same friend, his relationships are a wreck. And he sabotages almost everything he touches. There are things about him that I do not want to be like. But there are other things about him that I want to be like very much. And so what a categorical mentor really looks like is that is a person who has a category of their life that you would like to learn and develop from, without being tainted by a category that could diminish something about you at the same time. That's a categorical mentor. The next is one of my favorites. This is the one I use more than any other. This is called the ninja mentor. This is a mentor that you approach with stealth. This may be a mentor that you have and they don't even know. I'll give you a perfect example. Just this conference, I have developed what I believe to be some mentorships. The best example I can maybe think off the top of my head was yesterday. We had a panel. Kyle said some things that I thought were really smart. After the panel, I walked up to Kyle and I asked a couple questions. He's a very smart guy. And so I took that as an opportunity to be mentored, but I didn't necessarily ask Kyle to be my mentor, right? You weren't going to go home and say, guess what I did at conference? I mentored a bunch of people. You did send me a LinkedIn invite. I did send you a LinkedIn invite because I have more questions. But there are people in our lives every day, and actually something that Ralph Waldo Emerson said. He said that every man is superior to me in some way, and my job is to figure out in what way. That is my job. And so every day, every person that you interact with can be, if you take 100% responsibility for your development, every person that you come into contact with can be a mentor. Even people that you wouldn't think would be your mentor. The story I just told about my daughter skating, that day, she was a mentor to me. She taught me something. I learned something from her that was valuable for me. And that's what ninja mentorship is really all about. And there are countless people throughout this conference that I've had those conversations with that I will look back, that I've written stuff down, that I've taken a note, that I've thought about, that I would say, gosh, that was really a great learning opportunity for me. And I owe that person a debt. I'm not going to send you a check, though. The next one is the time machine mentor. Now, the time machine mentor is something that most of us do every day anyways. We think about history, things that have happened in the past. Because they say if you don't know what happened in the past, you're sort of going to repeat it. It's going to happen. And so a time machine mentor, the way I would define that, are people that are in the past. Those are people like Dale Carnegie. Those are people like Abraham Lincoln. Those are people that aren't here anymore, that we can learn lessons from either by the way they live their lives or by some of the things they said or wrote. Those are time machine mentors, because it's really important for us to have a strong understanding of the mistakes and the positive things that have happened in the past so that we can repeat the positive things and we can do our best to snuff out those mistakes and not repeat those. Because especially, guys, in family business, when you repeat the same mistakes that your past generation did, when you repeat those mistakes, what you're doing is effectively dishonoring the struggle that they went through for you to have that opportunity. And to me, that is something that I never want to do again, because that's being the last and final generation of my family business. That's something that I did. I repeated mistakes when I did not have to. I did not have the capacity to think about mentorship in this way. The next way I like to call the Worldview mentor. The Worldview mentor is someone who sits way above your perspective, that can step outside of the current issue and the current drama that may be going on, and that can look down the road, that can look back, and that can give you sage advice. This may be the best example of what a traditional mentor may have been. For me, there's a family in Raleigh, the Brazils. The Brazils are what I would accredit most of my development in the last probably 24 months. They are my mentors at Dale Carnegie Training. Just earlier this year, I became a Dale Carnegie certified instructor. And the Brazils have a level of understanding in terms of how to engage audiences, how to engage organizational health and development and engagement that I want to know. And so I can ask them questions, and they can sit way above my perspective, and they can help me understand what's down the road. When I was originally having the discussion on whether I should take my career the pathway of mega group, where I am now, the first person I called, of course after my wife, the first person I called was Tom. And I said, Tom, here's my vision for my future. Here's where I want to go, and here's the opportunities that are in front of me right now. I will not make any decisions without your blessing, because I knew that he could see much more than I could see at that particular time. Worldview mentors, I believe, are so important for our future development. The next is a Streetview mentor, which I think is just as important. These are the people that have their boots on the ground with you. These may be lateral, people that are lateral to you. These may even be your employees. There's a guy I work with at Mega Group, his name is Chad Burris. He's a business development manager for our product protection program. And we talk once, twice, 3 times a day. We have a pretty close relationship. I would consider him my greatest Streetview mentor, because we have developed a level of trust where I can call him and say, hey, Chad, I've got an idea, I've got a thought, I think this is something we could do, or this could be interesting. And he can say without sugarcoating, dude, stupid idea. You don't need to do that. Bad plan. Because he sees the same thing I do. He's sitting in the same car facing the same direction. And I trust him because I know that his motive is to move the company forward, and his motive is to move me forward. And so I can trust what he says. This also may be a mentor that you need in your business in terms of your sales team and your employees. Because how many of you know that the conversations that happen in the boardroom are most of the time different than the conversations that happen in the break room? Yeah? Way different. Your job as a leader is to figure out what those conversations are, what is true within those conversations, and manage the conversation. That is your responsibility. But unless you are learning from, taking mentorship from the Streetview, then it's going to be really hard to balance trust, accountability, engagement inside your total company. This isn't just a family business conversation, guys. This is a manufacturer. This is a supplier. This is an industry conversation I believe we need to have around mentorship. The half, is the anti-mentor. Now, all of you have those people in your life that you would say, man, maybe that person could be a categorical mentor. And then you say, nah, there is absolutely nothing. In no way, shape, form, or fashion would I like to be like that. My boy Charlie Sheen. Winning. So not only identifying the things that you want to learn from people, I think it's equally as important to identify the things that you do not want to do. In order to be exactly who you want to be and to be able to have the vision that you want to have for your future, you have to know what you want that to look like. You have to be able to clearly see that as it is today, what you want yourself, your development, your life, your business, your relationships, your employees, your culture, blah, 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 whatever. You've got to be able to see what that looks like 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Clearly, you've got to be able to paint that picture in your mind. Just as importantly, you have to be able to paint the same picture in your mind of, this is what I do not want it to be like. And you have to stand for and against things in your company in order to have the company that you want. I think that's paramount. That's something that so many people in business forget, is they focus on what they don't want it to be like, and they focus on it so hard it ends up being exactly like that. Or they focus on what they want it to be like and vision. They never get off the ground. So without focusing on what I want it to be and what I do not want it to be and working that plan, it's going to be really hard for you to overcome the obstacle that's in front of you